What happens when you believe and nothing changes? When you prayed and the answer didn't come? When you trusted and the door stayed closed? When you held on longer than you thought you could? What happens to your hope? Most of us were taught to hope, but only as long as things work out. As long as the breakthrough comes, as long as the healing happens, as long as the story ends the way we imagined. But what if it doesn't? Was your hope ever real? If it could be broken by an outcome? We have defined hope too narrowly. We made it about results, about timelines, about visible answers. But true hope was never meant to depend on outcomes. There is a hope that suffering cannot shake, that delay cannot weaken, that silence cannot destroy. A hope not rooted in what God does, but in who God is. Because outcomes can change, but God does not. Abraham waited long after the promise was spoken. Joseph dreamed, but found himself in a prison before the palace. There are seasons where faith does not look like victory. It looks like waiting, like trusting, like holding on in the dark. And let's be honest,
It hurts when what you believed for doesn't happen the way you expected. It shakes you. It questions you. It tests everything you thought you knew about God. But here is the turning point. What if your hope was never meant to be anchored in outcomes? What if your hope was meant to be anchored in God? Not in what He gives, but in who He is. Because if your hope is in outcomes, it will rise and fall with circumstances. But if your hope is in God, it will stand, even when nothing around you does. Even if the fig tree does not blossom, and there is no fruit on the vines. Even if everything falls apart. Yet, I will rejoice. Not because of the outcome, but because of God. In a garden, Jesus prayed for a different outcome. If it is possible, let this pass from me. But it didn't. And still, He trusted. On the cross, it looked like defeat. But what looked like loss became the greatest victory the world has ever known. This is the mystery of true hope. That even when you don't understand, you still trust. Even when you don't see it, you still believe. Even when it doesn't happen the way you want it, you know God is still good. God is still faithful. God is still God. So fix your eyes, not on outcomes, but on His nature. Remember His faithfulness. Detach your trust from your timeline and learn to worship in the waiting. Even if it doesn't happen the way I expected, I will still trust you. Even if the answer delays, I will still hold on. Even if I don't see it yet, I will still believe. Because my hope does not live or die by outcomes. My hope lives in God. What is your hope tied to today?
This is Spiritual Bible Frames, where Scripture shapes how we see, live, and hope. Spiritual Bible Frames is a space for seeing life through God's Word. Here, Scripture becomes a lens and not just a quotation. Each episode explores Bible passages, divine promises, and eternal truths that reshape how we view life, trials, hope, waiting, and faith, which helps believers live with clarity, courage, and heavenly perspective. The Bible does not just give us verses to quote, it gives us frames to see through. Subscribe to this channel, click the notification button, share with friends. God bless you.